The Northern Rockies is a wild place. In the lower 48 states, this is the only region to have populations of all the large carnivores, like mountain lions, grizzly and black bears, and wolves. These animals can't stay in one spot. They need to move around the landscape on a daily and a seasonal basis, and they need to move across the landscape between large chunks of intact habitat. They move around because they need to find food, mates, or unoccupied space. We have 3 large areas of core habitat in the Northern Rockies, and animals don't just move around randomly. They follow landscape features like creek drainages, and they also follow their noses, which can lead them into trouble. While our landscape still offers the potential to move, there are a lot of obstacles in the way. Things like roads, subdivisions, and of course there are a whole slew of attractants, like unsecured trash, crops, food in the backcountry, and livestock. And when large carnivores like grizzlies or wolves begin to interact with these attractants, sometimes they get away with it, sometimes that ends in relocation, but most often it ends in the death of the animal. This is exactly the kind of outcome that People and Carnivores works to prevent. By removing attractants or keeping carnivores away from them, we keep animals alive and moving so they can get to where they need to be.
Here's some grizzly bear tracks. They've dried up a little bit and stuff. Here's the claws right here from one of the bears.
Greg raises corn to feed his dairy cattle, and he's had a situation where grizzly bears have learned to eat that corn.
And by relocating the bear, that doesn't change. They still know where they got that free meal at. And so what we need to be doing is eliminating the food source.
We drastically reduced the corn loss and the number of bears accessing the cornfield, all of which was good for grizzly bears. Connectivity is really important for large carnivores. By connectivity, we simply mean the ability of animals to move between these intact habitats, and to do that with a minimum of risk. For populations of bears and wolves to remain healthy in the long term, they need to move between chunks of habitat, connect with other populations, and intermix genetically. If they can move around like this, they can also expand into new territory. Wolves and bears move across all different land ownerships, so connecting populations involves both public and private lands. In the backcountry, we work to prevent bears from getting into camp foods and game, and one of the ways we do this is by building bear poles. People and Carnivores has built nearly 250 of these structures. These poles give hunters and campers a place to hang their food out of the reach of bears. People and Carnivores works all across western Montana in key connectivity areas to apply a variety of coexistence tools, including electric fencing, livestock guardian dogs, and bear-resistant garbage cans.
We have about 17 acres. We raise boar goats and a whole bunch of kids. When we first moved here, we were seeing signs from all sorts of different predator animals up here. And so we partnered with People and Carnivores. They assisted us with electric fence and a cost share on a livestock guardian dog. Since we've got the dogs, not only are we not seeing tracks or scat from any of these predator animals, but we're not really hearing them. I mean, we hear them in the distance once in a while, but they're not coming close to our farm.
As the Northern Rockies become more crowded and developed, these corridors become more and more important. People and Carnivores works on many of these projects each year, and each one of them keeps wolves, bears, and cougars alive and moving across the landscape. Your support can help these animals stay on the move, sustain rural livelihoods, and keep this place wild.